Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gallant Melee Open Fall Edition. My name is Radar. I am here with Faust, and we have so much Melee coming up. I'm excited to watch. It's been a while since I've commentated a Gallant Melee Open, it feels like, so I'm really glad to be back.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. We have a lot of good matches here, some top eight qualifiers for people who will be playing tomorrow, um, which will also be another round of awesome matches.
Yeah, I will be commentating tomorrow as well, so that should be pretty fun. I believe we have a Dr. Mario versus Fox coming up, which is kind of a matchup Franz has been sort of like bringing back to the table. For a long time, I feel like Melee fans kind of forgot about Dr. Mario, at least in terms of like their viewing experience. So it's kind of cool to see a few more kind of making their way deep into a bracket.
No, it's a really interesting matchup because I feel like people have been sleeping on the character, even though the character is still clearly very good. Like probably the last pretty good character in my mind.
Yeah, he's funny. Like the thing is, so like as a Spacey player myself, I play Falco, not Fox. But I do have a decent amount of Fox experience. This is one of those matchups where it feels like if you try to overcomplicate things, and it's easy to do that because Fox has so many options, it actually kind of ends up hurting you. Like you can kind of just do a lot of full hop back air, and just kind of play these sort of safe positions, and Doc just struggles.
It's really tough. I think that one of the big things, and we might not see this in this matchup, but when you play the really, really good Dr. Marios, like Franz and Q question mark from Chicago, if you do the back air up tilt plan against them, they will just ASDI down and kill you for it every time. Because Dr. Mario's punish game, especially on every character really, but especially on Spacey's, is one of the best in the game. He can do things like his chain grab has a small middle percent where it doesn't work, but besides that, he can basically 0 to death Fox off of the grab.
Yeah, absolutely. That is, I think, the main thing that he has kind of going for him. And you are right that like there is some counterplay, but I think especially as you push out of those ASDI percents, it becomes like really, really difficult. So I don't know. I still think like as a game plan, you can kind of get away with like a more simple game plan, even if it's like hard to execute. It's like you kind of narrow your options a bit, if that makes sense.
Well, it's I think that Fox against like especially against matchups he's not super familiar with, gets a lot out of these like very low execution, like medium reward options, like the full hop back air. That's incredibly hard for most characters to punish. Even good characters, it's hard for them to punish it on occasion. You know. Wrackle though is doing very, very well against Phorox here, securing the game one very quickly. While we were talking about how the matchup gets played.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's that's the thing, is I think we're talking about it too, or especially I am, in like this, here's kind of the general kind of map of play, here's how you can kind of like, this is what you can like fall back on. Like, as a Puff player, I think the Puff equivalent is like space back air in just any matchup. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, it's like, well, you can't go wrong with X, but,
yeah.
You know, as you get higher and higher level, like you mentioned, like, there just starts to be like more and more micro situations, more and more nuance you need to play around. And being on FD here, where you're definitely going to be looking to get more chain grabs, is Phorox, just because, like you said, you can get so much.
Yeah, I think what Wrackle is going to try to do against Doc, and is kind of been doing this, is either getting those conversions to kill off the top with up smash, though you can't SDI that, but like to push Doc into the corner and capitalize on the fact that his recovery is incredibly linear and not very good, like doesn't go very far either. Because Fox can just kind of can't necessarily go out there, but can really just punish Doc for being off stage.
Yeah, definitely. I think like this is kind of one of the stages where it feels quite stressful to play against Doc. On the flip side, though, like it does make your neutral kind of even more kind of flowchart-y at times. But either way, I mean that's just FT period, right?
No, I think that's a good point, and it makes it like Doc has way fewer mix-ups. Like he kind of, although Fox really does appreciate the platforms to get out of Doc's combos and pressure because he has a hard time challenging the platforms relative to Fox. I think he does also really appreciate the ability to set up a wall on here with Doc. Doc doesn't really have any mix-ups to get around that.
Definitely. You know, you mentioned hard time. Right now we're seeing Phorox have quite a difficult time with the edge guards. There's another one now dropping about 3 or 4, and that's kind of like one of those things you really do want to get, because when it goes right, like what we just saw, you suddenly have a huge lead. So, you know, it just shows the value of being able to cover Fox's options, which of course isn't easy, especially if they're mixing them up correctly.
D makes the edge guarding on Fox a lot easier too, though, because the platforms, Doc, like I said earlier, Doc has a hard time covering them. But here, if he reads you going high or low, he can just pick that option and cape you, and you're dead at basically 0 if you're off stage. Obviously, there are situations where you can sweet spot or avoid it or play a timing mix-up, but generally, it's a pretty good situation for Doc.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Kind of an unsafe nair, going for the high nair. That's sort of too early at percent, and that is going to close out the game. Phorox really benefiting from the counter pick. Not too surprising. I remember, this is a little bit of a Canadian throwback, but Ryan Ford used to go Dr. Mario a lot on FD, if I recall. So
he did that to Mar at the last Ontario Monthly. It actually didn't work out. Mar, the Marth player, who's recently moved to Ontario. But yeah, that Dr. Mario has beaten Axe, it's beaten Drugged Fox. You know, just showing how good the FD counterpick can be.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, again, sometimes I feel like the stuff I say, you know, it's just like the commentary cliches, but FD is just like such an extreme kind of like way to play Melee at times, you know? Just everything that sort of like the way the game typically works becomes like very like polarized almost. And Dr. Mario, a good example of that.
Totally agree. So Stadium is this is a kind of an odd counter pick. I think Fox players do really generally like this stage, but Docs also have historically really liked Stadium against Fox, I think.
That would make sense to me. I feel like, you know, some of Doc's kill setups are actually killing off the top with the forward air, and then this is kind of like FD light in a lot of ways. So
it's the cape again, right there.
Yeah.
He hit him off stage at 60, won the 50-50 and just killed him for it.
That jump the ledge there. It's very, very safe. Gonna go with the up smash. Cleans it up with, you know, not too much extra credit loss, so this is pretty even so far.
Yeah, no, this spot is basically dead even. Both characters still in ASDI down percent, which to me that's when I consider a lead like decent. You know, is if you're starting to knock the other person down. Oh, another early nair, which is really good for stuffing Doc, but it will get shield grabbed if the Doc is ready for it.
I really, really like that edge guard from Phorox. Going out there, preventing Fox from kind of having the variety of angles he would usually have. He still probably could have recovered if he went like really, really high, like high and up, but that's quite difficult to do, so good awareness from Phorox.
I'm wondering if that back throw is a miscue, because it feels like in that spot you probably want to up throw. Ooh, interesting forward smash. I don't know what Phorox was waiting for there, but getting caught in his movement again.
One of the things I've noticed in this game is typically, especially against characters like Doc, if you kind of get them above you, they don't have great ways of coming down, and Fox is kind of trying to punish that. But so far, at least, Phorox has played quite well coming down. He's using that dare to trade like we just saw. And Wrackle, like, isn't super comfortable with it. I think if they need to sort of get ready for that timing, because Phorox has been throwing out the dare pretty much every time.
And cape again. I think the dare is deceptively difficult to punish because it is active for a very long time, has pretty good startup and very little end lag. And it can send you in a weird angle because it is basically a drill, like Fox or Puff or regular Mario, I guess. So dead even right now. Phorox really using those cape edge guards to beat Wrackle. It's basically been his way of sealing the kill every time.
absolutely. See, once again, like these up throws, like they're just not leading to anything, and like that should be a situation where Fox is getting a lot of value. And I'm not trying to say that like Wrackle is playing poorly. It's more just Phorox is making it quite difficult to actually know when to try to capitalize on that position, and is mixing it up quite effectively.
No, I agree with that. I think that. Sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. I had an idea, but then I lost it.
Yeah, that's too bad. But yeah, so I think good stuff from Phorox. I believe, is that a best of 3? So that
I
should
think
be
that's
right.
best of 5.
Best of 5. Wait. It is best of 5. Okay, yeah. I thought about it like we went to FTE, so that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, so far I'm pretty impressed with what Phorox has been doing. I think Dreamland makes more sense as a. Well, actually, this is what am I saying? Wrackle won the game, but we'll just see how this goes.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that Phorox isn't going back to Stadium, honestly. I feel like the top platform here is really good for Fox. A lot of the time gives him kind of a get-out-of-jail-free card. In a lot of, you do a bad jump, you're playing like that full hoppy style, but you jump at the wrong time and the Doc has a read on it, you just double jump to top platform, and Doc can't really challenge it very efficiently.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess like it could just be the decision to not go back might just be as simple as like Wrackle counterpicked there, so I don't want to go to a stage that my opponent wants to play on. I can kind of like, I'm sure both of us, like, what is your philosophy on that type of stuff? Like, do you focus more on where you're comfortable, or do you prefer to make your opponent uncomfortable?
It's a counterpick first based on what I think my strengths are, maybe not necessarily what my strengths are, but like what the problems with how I'm playing are. So if my opponent is abusing a weakness of mine, I might go to a counterpick that I think would shore up those weaknesses. So if I'm having a hard time finding scraps against a Fox, for instance, I'll go to Fountain, because I think that is a stage that encourages that more than Dreamland.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've noticed, by the way, that like Wrackle has very rarely gone for side Bs, and Phorox is, like I mentioned the edge guarding earlier. Now Phorox has been calling up pretty much every up B with the cape. So I'd love to see Wrackle just mix in the side B a little bit more. They've been doing the jump to ledge a lot, and that is really good. It's like generally pretty safe, but I think just a bit more side B will make it so much more difficult to edge guard.
Well, it's I think because Fox is up B, because it's so much slower, it does give a character like Doc that extra time to set up. Which, if you give a character to set if the Fox gives a character the ability to set up, they can actually cover more of his options instead of just having to guess.
Absolutely. That was a really good sequence from Wrackle. Just keeping it simple, the back air, double back air, doing what it needs to do. But how does Wrackle play around the ASDI percent? Like you mentioned before, that knockdown makes things so much easier. Nice nair.
Yeah, that nair is semi-safe because it Sakurai angles at that percent, I believe. Which means that he can't true crouch it. He has to wait. He has to ASDI down, which the timing is a little tighter if you do that.
One of those things that's like in Melee that just feels like, really, we have to make it more complicated than it already is. Like, it reminds me of, there's a thing with Falco Marth, where if you want to use down smash to edge guard Marth at 0, like, you can't like CC it basically, so like you have to, I think you have to use ASCI to do it. Like you basically like have to do a down smash into a second down smash. Can't remember the exact reasons why, but it's a Sakurai
it's because
angle
it's
thing.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It is because of the Sakurai angle there.
Yeah.
Because you won't get knocked out of a hit stun quickly enough. So Wrackle winning the set there 3-1, putting up a good show there. Really, like, even though he was getting thrown off stage and caped a bunch, I felt like he was still finding his kills himself and his edge guards himself when it mattered. So that's awesome.
Yeah, good stuff. I do believe we have a queue of other stuff